Okay, guys. So like the aim of this really is just we'll do a little bit of a status check based off some of the stuff we've talked about. So Lewis, you mentioned one of the big things you took away from the event was goal setting, timelines. So we'll use the start of this in a second to kind of go through where your clients are at, how many are off track, how many are on track, get an idea of where you're at. And then we'll open the floor for questions. Anything that you need help with. Also, if you want, we can go through some case studies. We can go through some templates. We can program on the whiteboard. If this is the first time seeing have you guys seen my setup, Sam and Matty?
Vaguely.
So like, if you'll be amazed at what we can do here. If we want to go through whiteboard stuff, I can do this, and we can get the whiteboard stuff up here, right? If you want to use the skeleton, I can zoom into the skeleton. I can get it follow me around. We've got proper open floor if you guys need help with stuff. We can play it. I've got a scapula, I've got a foot, I've got a femur, I've got a pelvis, right? I've got a bottle of whiskey if you want to have a really nice Friday afternoon. We've got the works. So first thing, guys, is there anything? I'll start with Lewis, and I know you've kind of alluded to this before we press record. What were the key takeaways you had from the event, and have you applied anything in the 4 weeks since it finished?
Yeah, I think the main thing for me was again, like I mentioned, sort of goal setting stuff and being solid with these things and having specific dates for clients. I think a lot of the times, if you don't set dates, you just kind of have like a general sort of discussion of what someone wants to get. The sort of blinkers sometimes come on a bit. We don't get to get as focused or.
Yeah.
But I think just solidifying a set date and having those visuals like mapped out for someone so you can say like, right, this is where we are now. And we can be like X, Y, Z. If we move through this, we do that. We can be here in sort of a set amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think that document that we had, that sort of map that look is really useful. Putting that in like check-in forms and stuff like that is really, really helpful, just so someone can see it and they can use it themselves as well.
It has a ripple effect over everything you do in your business. Because if people feel like they're on an endless diet without an end date, they're less likely to apply themselves to the diet, right? Because if I just said to, like, I used James as the example on the day of like, if we just said get lean, he'd probably like, well, why? Like I want a donut. Whereas we put a photo shoot in the diary, and I've seen picture James where you can basically see his kidneys to his back, right? So like this has come from you had the deadline, you push towards it. So the clients feel on endless diet, they know it's an end date, they can work hard for 8, 10, 12 weeks, but saying infinite timeline, people aren't going to put their effort in. For you, it's so easy to get caught up in, I need to lose 1% this week. I need to lose 1% this week. Can we never zoom out and going, maybe I've been so brutal, I've never given them a refeed in 36 weeks. Or maybe I've been so focused on what they were doing to hit 1% that I've not zoomed out and gone, oh, fuck, I've actually not lost weight in 8 weeks. My strategies haven't been working. And as a coach, it just keeps you accountable when it comes to doing that. So I think it has a huge ripple effect. It means you don't forget little things like supplements. Do you put a fat burner in at any point? Do you throw in a refeed and diet break at any point? Is there kind of times in your training where you like to do a micro progression? So maybe you got a 6-week block, and at week 3, you like to throw in an extra pause in lengthen positions or slow down an eccentric. You'll forget that. You're not going to remember that every time a client gets to week 3 of a program. But if it's written into a timeline, you can go, nah, not doing that. Or, oh, okay, I might do that. And you can start to kind of map out this journey. And I just got it with my SMU call recently. We talked about signature systems. And one of the, like, if you look at anyone that's getting more results than you, like Herbalife, Slimming World, Weight Watchers, Atkins, I hate to say it, but they're all getting more results than all of us. And the reason why is because they keep it very simple and they have a refined system that they know their demographic. They know the problems they're facing. They've solved for that problem. And over time, as these big corporations have these big marketing budgets and investment budgets and research budgets, they probably found this is the problems with the product. We need to tweak this, this, and this. The problem is with coaches, they very rarely actually get better because they're making a whole new methodology with every new person that walks in the door. Whereas if I go, like, for sake of argument, Pioneer, right? I presume I'm going to go on a limb and say you work with the higher end people in Newcastle, like lawyers, investment bankers, accountants, people who are making a decent amount of money, time poor, cash rich, super stressed. I'm presuming that's your demo, mostly. Yeah. So like with that, you now know I know you guys probably have a system where you train, the way you give diets, the way you approach certain situations. And if you had every trainer in the business realized that 6 weeks something happened, people were getting a bit slack, you can go, oh, what do I need to do to solve that problem? You plug and play, and then your actual overall process becomes better. And that's for having like timelines. For example, if I go to let me spotlight my page so people can see it. So if I go to like Chris's client file, if I go over to my timeline, I can now start to map out this journey. Where are he struggles? What happened? When we did deficits? When he had holidays? What did we try? And if I've tried something that worked in this holiday, and then something that worked again on this holiday, guess what? I'm going to zap that out, and I'm going to put that into everyone's client's plans. I'm going to write a template. If I see a problem in here, I'll write, instead of writing, I'm going on holiday, and you're WhatsApping people some tips on holiday, which relies on your memory and energy. If you have a client, like James had clients going on holiday, and you write the best holiday email that's ever been written with links and articles and tips and things like this, write it once, then you never, ever, ever, ever have to write it again. For example, guys, put a 1 in the chat if you use canned responses on Gmail. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. Canned responses, or templates they're called now, but they used to be called canned responses. 2. Oh, James, we're gonna make your business so much easier to manage. Right. So like if I go to settings on here, see all settings, and I go to I think it's advanced. Let me just go. I haven't done this in so long. So you click templates, click enable, and then click save. Seriously, this is the most game-changing thing you'll ever do. So now, if I click compose, click these 3 dots, click on templates. So let's say we go to actually, James, you did Signature Systems. When you joined Signature Systems, you got this email. All I have to do, I didn't write that personally for you. Had it there to go, and I just put James next to here, breaking the 4th wall. But imagine if in that thing here, we got templates, you had struggling with sleep, ? Noticed your energy was poor. Plan for your upcoming holiday. How to work around your knee pain. Check in week 1, check in week 2, check in week 3. Right. So if I go to, I think I might have some check-in ones in this one. Let me just check. So if I go to, do I have it? Yeah, when you're ready. Check in week 1. Let's go week 2. Bang. Check in, pre-written. And I now just go, if this is exactly what I want, I can color that in black and send it. If not, I can just delete it and write a personalized response. Put goal weight in here. Any adjustments in here. Any links I've got in here. Imagine if your clients got that as a check-in response. Certainly for online. 1-to-1, most of my check-ins are done in person. But imagine that. You'd be like, your client would be like, fucking hell, James, you can't have 30 clients. I must be your only client. Because the level of quality that you're giving with that. I hope that makes sense. I went on a bit of a tangent there, but like seriously, that will change your life having that. And also, like, Matt, do you have them?
So I have them for like marketing, and then sending over, like introducing new clients to their coach. Yeah. But we don't really have them as a business for checking in with people.
I thought for you, for like onboarding new clients, onboarding new members of staff, like that could be. I have a bunch of pre-written emails for onboarding trainers. Like when I've worked in gyms, it's game changing.
Yeah.
Game changing.
That definitely looks really useful. I use it. I didn't know that you could do that on Gmail actually. But I use it in one of our systems, one of our marketing systems, Active Campaign.
Okay, yeah. I need to pick your brains on Active Campaign. I never write emails. I find it so unuser friendly in terms of I'm just like I get overwhelmed. I just never write anything. That's why like probably all of you are on my email list, and you've probably not received an email from me in months. But if you DM me on Instagram, you're getting a message back in seconds. You know, like it's just not my thing. James, any key takeaways you've had from the event?
I think most of mine was like solidifying the stuff that we took from the Signature Systems program, and like having that interaction where other people were asking you questions. I was picking up on little things. So there was no like major takeaways. It was all just like loads of little things that stacked in and just built what I kind of had already been doing a little bit more.
Perfect.
And there was a few little reminders and stuff like that. So for example, again, there was things like, I guess, with some people, I'd fall in the trap of what, like, from a timeline perspective. Like if someone's got ill or something like that, maybe he's kind of just kicking the can down the road a little bit more, and then the timeline goes out of sync a little bit. So then they feel like they've been dieting maybe even a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So I've been a bit more ruthless with, like, we've said this block is going to be 8 weeks. Like, it's 8 weeks. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
We'll move on to change X, or we'll change Y, or we'll put the food up because that's what we said we were going to do, rather than just kind of, all right, well, you missed a week here, so let's.
Yes. How's that gone so far? How's the feedback on that?
Yeah, I think it's been helpful. I think some people have been better at it than others, because some people have felt like it's, like, I guess it's trying to show what you were saying, where like you need to be like a person of your word, and that's what you said you're going to do. So you're backing it up. But then from their side of things as well, I guess some of them, where they've felt like they've been busy with work, or they've done this or done that, have felt like a bit of a failure. And like, then trying to come from that side of it and being a bit more empathetic of like, it's okay, that's just the way it is, kind of thing, but we still need to follow this structure. So I think there's teething issues with that, but I'm getting better at explaining that to people and then getting inside like what they're thinking. But I think actually, just if I'm being a bit more ruthless my side, I think that's helped me as well.
Yeah. I think when you implement new things, it's always easier with brand new clients than it is for like old clients that got used to the previous version. I think with the conversation about people feeling like a failure and almost feeling like that puts pressure on them, I think the big thing that helps with that is like, if you have a data-driven approach to feedback, it's so much easier to not feel confrontational. Like, there's no judgment in someone that's busy with work. Like, but this is where you are in relation to it. Like, if you're behind, that's not a problem. But this is where we're at. So, like, for sake of if we had two check-ins, let's say they're identical twins, Steve and Barry, right? And if I go to Steve, same problem, same week, and I go, oh, Steve, mate, this third time we've had to have this conversation about meals out. We've not dropped again. We need to really dial this in. Whereas I then went to Barry and went, hey, Barry, thanks for your check-in. Really, really love it that this was on time. And some of the data on training, it's fantastic. We made some huge improvements there. However, we did see that we did aim this week to hit a 0.8. We're actually at a 0.2, so we're a little bit behind target. And looking at the data here, I've noticed that we had 2 meals out last week and we've got 8 meals out this week. What could you do to bring these meals out either down, or do we need to work on some strategies for these? That first one, there's no argument there. There's no, I'm judging you for meals out. It's like, look, this is the target. We're behind meals out. If you want to slow down the result because you have a lot of business in us, that's fine. The difference is we've shown it. It's like this. We can't argue this. It's facts because it's on paper. It's on data. As becoming this, I know what you should do, but you're not doing it, sort of like wagging your finger teacher. So if you can use data, and then the other thing I'd say from a communication standpoint, which I really, really love at the moment, is find the cue. So I said in the lecture, like, not mansplaining. Whenever someone has a habit, bad or good, when we look at science, habits formation has a cue, a routine, and a reward. So cue is what makes them grab it. I grab chocolate because I'm stressed, I'm lonely, I'm bored. The routine is the sugar, and the reward is I feel less stressed because of this thing. The hardest place to attack a habit is the routine. Don't eat sugar, it's bad for you. Here's what Tim Spector says, and that kind of bollocks, right? And yes, we know that, but they've had a coping mechanism for loneliness for 20 years, which is based upon this. The best thing is finding the cue. And that's what coaches often don't do. Oh, I've had a bad night's sleep. Oh, you should try magnesium. Okay, but the reason why I've had a bad night's sleep is because I stayed up to 2 o'clock working because I have a big deadline tomorrow. I can take 1,000 milligrams of magnesium. It's not going to change that deadline. So it's like, if asking open questions and finding cues, and if you go into it like that, finding the cue, you come across way less judgmental. So it's not, oh, your steps are low, mate. It's like, hey, I noticed steps have dropped a little bit this week. Run me through what's happened in your week. Like, it just takes the heat out of it, but you're still very you have assertive empathy. You're empathetic, but we still have the goal in mind. It's not, it's all right. Don't worry. I know 8,000 steps is hard. Maybe we'll do 4 and then we can bring it up to 5 in a few weeks. Yeah, I know it's really hard not eating bounty bars. Maybe we'll fit in a bounty bar. Maybe we'll fit in 2. Maybe we'll fit in 3. And you've never had the conversation that the result's going to suffer. And then in 10 weeks' time, the clients go, James, I'm going to leave. And like, what's going on? I went, well, I paid for a result and I wasn't getting results. And you're there going, you've eaten 12 bounty bars a week. And like, but you've never had that conversation of like, you trying to make it accommodating will slow things down. No issues to make it accommodating. You want 12 bounty bars, that's fine. But you are 12 bounty bars further away from your goal. Are you okay with that? And like, that sort of thing. Cool. So before we go into open floor, I'm going to do a little bit of a status check. If you could put in the chat, guys, how many clients do you have on your current roster? How many people are you working with? In person, online, you can separate it. You can put it in one number. Don't mind. Just want to know how many people are you currently working with. It could be a ballpark. You don't need them exactly. So there's a couple of reasons why we're doing this. This is something I do with every SMU student. And I think it's really, really important to use this as a way to highlight where you are, take stock. It's so easy to get caught in the motions, go from week to week, like we said before. I call this the Friday status check. And ironically, we're doing it on a Friday, which is nice. If every week, let's say you do check-ins on the weekends, and little Monday, let's say you do your check-ins. Friday, once you finish work, last thing I recommend you doing, go through your roster and do what we're about to do. What this means is twofold. You're always going to take a bit of time where you zoom out the business, look at where your clients are at, who is struggling, who is not, who you're excited about, and what you can do, which means you're proactive in your next step rather than being reactive, waiting the client to come to you. The second thing is I see so many coaches get really caught up in the client's emotional baggage, right? How many times have you had a client check and they're giving you all the excuses like they only eat pizza in Italy, they don't eat anything else, or my leg fell off so I couldn't train, but don't worry, it grew back, or I really got busy with work and like the wife was sick, the kids were sick, and you're just like, and they get caught up in trying to be the provider, the protector. Male coaches are the worst for this. Right, they want to be protecting these people. And like, no, my job is to get you a fat loss results. I don't need to hear about your relationship troubles. I totally empathize that you're having a fight with your husband, and I appreciate that that might be the reason why you grab sugar. But my problem is you want to be 20 kilos lighter and you've eaten too much sugar. That's the problem. And we need to be very aware of where is our scope, what is the solution we need to do, and then we take into account the baggage rather than trying to navigate the baggage to find the problem. So let's say you had Susan on Friday that's going through a divorce and is eating loads of chocolate. On Friday, before the check-in comes in, you go, she's stopped losing weight. Her carbohydrates are at 480 grams every day. I need to find a solution to get her carbohydrates down from 480 grams a day, close to the 120 we set. Monday, she gives you a big fucking dissertation about how horrible her husband was. You're not as emotionally driven by that because you can go, right, I now know why she is struggling with this. Do I need to ask more questions? Do I need to put in a strategy in place? You come at it from I'm an outsider looking in perspective rather than I'm in the mud with you perspective. It also, and as we go through this, we're also going to use this as a bit of a pep talk and a bit of just a wake-up call of where you are. So what I want from these numbers, we've got some good numbers here, 22, 20, 10, 15. I would take the mick at Matt only having 10 clients, but he's also running an enterprise and he also has a Porsche. So he's obviously doing pretty well for himself. But out of those numbers, right, I want you to say how many are on, how many of those have a clear goal, how many of them are on track for the goal, and how many of them are off track from target. When I say clear goal, it has to be objective. Feeling better is not a goal. Do we want clients to feel better? Absolutely. But how do you know when you've achieved feeling better? I feel better in so many ways than I did 5 years ago. But have I felt better? Could I still feel better? Sure. I know when I've lost 10 kilos. I know when I've hit 100 kilo bench press. I know when I can get full dorsiflexion, for example. So how many have a clear goal? How many are on track? How many are off track? Again, don't need to be exact, but give me a rough number. And whilst you guys are putting that in, right, here's the ratio that UP used. UP being probably the biggest, most results-driven PT gym that's not called Pioneer. And they got a 1 in 4 success ratio. So for every 4 clients a trainer was allocated, they expected one holy fuck result. One result that would stop an Instagram feed, right? One result that would, like, people would go, oh my God, this person's serious. Then you probably have 1 or 2 that are like, yeah, they're doing all right. And then you'd have one, what my student Shona calls bumblebees, right? They're just kind of coasting. Maybe they've had a result and they're just staying with you. There's 2 reasons why we aim for the 1 in 4. The 1 in 4 means that if you look at anyone on Instagram and you think, oh my God, they look like they have a 100% success rate, I call bullshit. You're not seeing all the clients that don't get a result. Joe Wicks looks like he's got a lot of results. Yeah, he sends a PDF to about 1 million people a month. 10 of them get a result. That's your marketing. If the world's #1, in inverted commas, personal trainers are getting 1 in 4, then you're good for that. Right? Yeah. The other reason is if you're below 1 in 4, then we need to work out why that is. 8 out of 15 clear goal on track. Okay, that's cool. 5 clear, 5 bumblebees. I'm expecting Matt to have the most bumblebees managers a gym normally do, because you probably built your gym off the fact you had a lot of long-term clients that paid you enough money to open a gym, and long-term clients have had a result and they just like you now, and it's hard and it sucks. But they also pay your bills, and they're also the reason why you don't have any loans for equipment. So like swings and roundabouts, say. But yeah, so like if we're behind that, and also what I would say is if you're on this call, you're here clearly because you have high standards for your results. Have insanely high standards for your results. I see a lot of coaches that will set very unambitious goals. I've got a client who's 30%, and we've set a goal of 25. What you're saying is your client goes, oh, I'd love to still be fat, but just a bit less fat. Like, I don't need to see my whole penis in the shower, just the tip. You know, like, no one asked for that. No one cared. Like, if I said, if I click my fingers and you could get a result tomorrow, what do you want to look like? Everyone's going to say the fucking men's health, women's health cover model. Everyone's going to say like that poster, beach body ready. Sorry, that's a cancelable phrase now, isn't it? But so set a goal that's exciting. Set a goal that makes people want to put down the donuts and go for steps in the rain. Then work back, and maybe the first milestone is 25. So those standards, the standards of the results you expect from people, the standards you get, your before and after photos, waistbands up here, hidden dick finger, mismatched angles, blurry photos, have an expectation. And I'll do the same compliment I gave a month ago. Look at Pioneer's page. These guys, that way I'm unmirrored, these guys have such a high quality of before and after photos. Like, they're perfectly placed. Perfect. And it says they are the premier place in Newcastle for this. Cool. So if we look at this again, I want to open floor this. I want to make this direct and as actionable for you guys as possible. But I want you to take note of those numbers and think, what can I do to get those people off track, back on track? And what are the people who are on track? Who am I most excited to buy? And they're going to be the one. They're going to be the 1 in 4. Hopefully that's been useful, guys. And now you know this, whether it's client questions, coaching questions, program design questions. Open floor. Open floor. What do you guys need? Don't all jump in at once. It's always the first question. It's always the hardest one.
I think what you were just touching on there feeds into one of what my questions are going to be. Was in terms of people are really good at telling you what they don't want. They're not very good at telling you what they actually want.
Yeah, that's very true.
Do you have any particular sort of line of questioning that you start to try and pull someone's motivation out of their head a bit?
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Let me try and find. I'm trying to find my whiteboard eraser. I can't find out where it's gone. Don't know why. It's fine. I can just use my hand like an absolute heathen. Actually, fuck it. I'll use my. I don't found it. I found it. I didn't have to use my Scotland rugby thing. So, like, regards to questioning, people like, there's a couple of things that I very much do when it comes to. Let me spotlight this. You can see me on full screen. So I have trialed so many ways of doing initial like consults, client interviews. I once took all the notes and I had no buy-in from the client because I was just like taking notes all the time and I wasn't paying attention. And I sacked off notes and I just went, I'm going to listen to you. Clients loved me. They had so much buy-in. And then I went to write a program. I'm like, what did he say again? So now I have 3 sections when I do a consult. And I don't know if I mentioned this on the day, but James will have heard of it. I basically have past, future, and present in this order. I probably spelled it wrong, but like the first section is past. Whenever I do a consult, first thing I do a little bit of small talk, get a little bit of buy-in. So if someone comes in, shake the hand, offer them a glass of water or a coffee, introduce them to members of staff that are around, and I'll ask the question: have you come from far? Have you come from far is a great question, especially if you're doing one-to-one PT, because it does 2 things. They're nervous. They're in the gym. You're in shape. You're a PT. They feel they're there because they feel insecure. And then you go, have you come from far? It breaks the ice. But also they go, oh yeah, just central Newcastle. Oh, do you work or live there? I work there. Oh, what is it you do? I'm an investment banker. Great. Food prep company, supplements. These are conversations I can have with you. If someone says, oh no, I live in South Shields, in your head you're like, oof, because I stayed in South Shields when I first went to visit you. Awful place. And they're like, why? Oh, it's just a little bit cheaper than Newcastle. Right, I might overwhelm you with those conversations. So it gives you a little bit of an idea. So then I go into it and I start the past. So the past, if anyone's done precision nutrition, they talk about you have to ask why 5 times to get a real desire of what they want. I basically will just write bullet points until I feel I've satisfied this. Some people, it's 1 question, they start crying in the middle of the consult, and some people it takes 40 questions like, yeah, want to lose weight. Why? Because. So the way I look at the past is like, what is it they have come here for? And I will always follow up their question with a follow-up question. So I use their response in my next question. So like, what made you book this meeting today? Oh, I'd like to lose some weight. Okay, cool. And why is losing weight important to you? Oh, I just feel it would give me some more confidence. Okay, and is confidence something you've always struggled with? Ever since I was a kid. Oh, okay. And if you don't mind me asking, what was it that impacts your confidence? I was bullied a lot as a child. Oh, I can relate to that. It's horrible. And does that impact you in your day-to-day life? Oh, massively. Okay, in what ways? Oh, I just feel I don't present in meetings at work. Okay, and is work a big part of your life? Work's a huge part of my life. We've now found a few little avenues of things that we can then milk that pull motivation from, and even that push motivation from. So we find that. So this is mainly, you'll get a few pulls, but this is mainly finding your push motivations. Then the future, right, is our pull motivations. So when I go into the future, it's not just about how do you want to look. It's like, how do you want to look? How do you want to feel? How do you want to behave? What habits do you want to have? This is good because I'm assuming, put a 1 in the chat if you've ever had a client say something like, I'd like to be that kind of person that preps their food, or I'd like to be the person that gets up and goes for a walk in the mornings, and then proceeds not to do those things because they think once they're shredded, they will start doing them. If you notice that if you got that from the start, you go, hey, you said you were going to do a morning walk? We haven't done one once. It starts now, and you can remind them and refer back to what they said. So with the future, you really want to delve in. The idea is to try and paint this picture. Have you ever had someone have you ever had someone try to headhunt? Has anyone been headhunted by a company? Right? When you get headhunted, they try and map out this future. If you do well, here's your stock options, and this is how much money you can make with stock options. And then if you grow the enterprise here, you could run a franchise of these gyms, and you could take a 15% cut of every revenue. What are you doing? You're sitting listening and you go, oh God, I'm going to be a millionaire. And you're so excited you're going to get bought in on that, and that's what keeps pulling you when the time gets hard. That's what you do in the physique. It's trying to find questions that allows you to kind of go, how will you feel? How would you behave? How will it change your social life? That's the sort of avenue. So you've now gone, I feel really uncomfortable here and I feel like I need to take action. This is so exciting on the other end. It's like marketing. Right? Matty, this is what you'll do on social media, right? Is like, what is the benefits of being fucking shredded and how will it impact your life? You're trying to pull that out of them, and that's where the pull motivations are. And that question could be a bunch of things. And then present is going to be barriers. Now, with barriers, I don't like the question, so what barriers do you feel we're going to face here? It's a perfectly fine question. It's just sort of wet. It's everyone says that, and they're going to give you the surface layer shit, right? They're going to go, oh, well, I just don't really know what diet's best to get in shape. Whereas if I kind of go, I will often use a pattern break here and be a bit ballsy. I'm like, okay, cool. Actually, I'm going to come back to that. One thing I'll say in the future as well if you've got a transformation wall, this is your time to use it. So you guys in Pioneer obviously have one, and a good one. You've got the transformation wall behind you and go, okay, cool. If I turn around and look at this, could you, like, is there someone on that wall that you would just love to look like? And I like to look at that person. And there's a couple of things to this. One, it gives them a visual of where they are. But it also means, like, if someone wants to look like an after photo, do they look like the before photo? And this is not from a body composition perspective. Someone looks like the before photo but fatter, go, cool, we can get there. It might take a little bit longer, but you can definitely achieve that physique. You don't want to bullshit someone if someone looks like a steroid-enhanced junkie and someone is like skinny, 60 kilos soaking wet. This might not be realistic for them. So you might you go, instead of bursting the bubble and going, nah, can't achieve that, mate, which can ruin the buy-in, you can then kind of go, look at the other transformation on the wall and find someone that does have a similar body shape and structure to that person. And you can say, hey, so you're a little bit broader in the shoulders, so we can get you that lean, but you might not look like this at the end of it. But this, totally possible. So we've not burst their bubble, we've reaffirmed it. I did this because I had an online client once, I shit you not, he looked like an Amish Weird Al Yankovic. And in the online form, I asked him what he wanted. He sent me a picture of Terry Crews. I don't produce melanin in my training sessions, so good fucking luck with that. Or test prop. So so having that kind of like refine this goal that is actually achievable. Going back to this, my first question. So you said you want to look like XYZ. Tell me why you don't look like that already. I think that's because it's a pattern break question. It's a bit fuck on the nose. Fucking hell, that's a bit harsh. So it'll get rid of from the surface layers and they'll tell you why they're really struggling. Then if you do those, you're 90% of the way there. Then I'll go through goal setting, as Lewis said, using that timeline document, map out that journey from here to here in the session with them so you can take that. If they think that's unachievable, we show them week by week how long it would take them and show them belief. And then I'll ask follow-up questions from the onboarding form, food intolerances, injuries, that stuff. And then I will close with this. So one of the questions, again, it's another pattern break question. What do you need from me for this to be a success? This is great because if you do what they said, then you will get a happy client. But I'm assuming none of you guys, and myself included, like telling someone how to do their job. I'm never going to go into a restaurant and tell the waiter, you should be doing that better. So they're going to feel slightly awkward answering that question, which means they're much more accommodating when you go, absolutely no problem, I will make sure I do that. Now, here is what I need from you. And then you go through check-ins, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Then you go into assessments and then build your plan off the back of that. Sam, does that answer your question?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome.
So, sorry to interrupt, Simon. I need to get a move on, unfortunately.
Cool.
Yeah, but thank you.
No problem. No problem.
No worries. See you there, guys.
Sweet. Awesome. Hopefully that's answered your question. James, do you have anything particularly you want to go through today?
Not in particular off the course of what we've been doing recently. Like I said, I was going to be getting a call with you to talk about some specific stuff with that. There's nothing really that springs out that off the top of my head. But yeah.
Sweet. Lewis, anything from yourself, dude?
Sorry, mate. I've just been chasing my son around.
Sorry.
Nothing again massively. I think it's just. I hope, to be fair, we've covered most of the stuff that was sort of important to me from the seminar.
Okay, cool. What I'll do then to finish off, guys, again, if you want to go through anything that's program design or anything we can do, I'll go through a couple of examples of how this looks in practice and a bit of a case study. I think so many times I see a lot of coaches that they don't really know what a result looks like. They'll look at a company like UP or Pioneer or someone that's getting these results. They'll see the result and they're trying to work it out from knowledge. But like, how does that look when a client's in place? So like, if I go to, actually, one thing I will do, I use OneFit for my client apps, by the way. But to give you an idea, I talked about templates. This is the beauty of having a template. So if I go to templates here, if I go to programs, you can see here I've got all these templates. So I've got about currently 40 in here and counting. Per templates. So for sake of argument, let's say James came to me and it was like, I've been doing 8x3 for 16 weeks. And then he's onboarding form. He's like, I've slept 2 hours a night. I don't know why. I just keep waking up. I feel fucking exhausted all the time. I go, sweet. Okay. The feedback I'm going to do, I'm going to do a high volume program. So I've got a crossbody one. I've got an 8x8. I've got systemic heart body. I've got oxidative triceps. I've got escalating density training, 2 variations of that. So I'd be like, okay, I've got a bunch of options I can give James here. What's going to be relevant mostly to him? And if he's absolutely battered, maybe I'll go an 8x8. And then I'll personalize that program. Same thing with a bunch of hypertrophy programs. I have a chest focus or like leg focus. We can just assign that program. Very quickly, we can assign what we need to do. Same thing with meal plans. If Sam, if you don't mind me asking, how much do you weigh?
75.
75, right? So if, again, this is in terms of how quickly you can set somebody up and make it totally personalized. 75 kilos times that by 2.2, that's 165 kilos. Now, I would normally do anywhere between 10 to 14 calories per pound of body weight, 10 being for a low to high approach for someone that's brand new, but 16 calories per pound by low end maintenance. But Sam's a trainer, trains very hard, he's on the shop floor. So let's say I'm going to do 14 calories a pound. So times 165 times 14, which gets me 2,310 calories. So now I'm probably going to go, because he trains hard, I'll probably go up to 2,400. And then I'm going to either look at some of the, if he's got a health symptom survey, let's say he says, I'm going to do a marathon training, or I'm going to do a super high volume program. Maybe I'll go a high carb, 2,400 calories. Or maybe his thyroid's not in a good place. We'll go high carb, 2,400. If he had some inflammatory issues, you want to go low carb, I could pick this. Or my balance reset, which is basically just going to be, which I haven't got in here yet, is basically like a higher protein, moderate fat and carb. And that I can just assign that to him and then go through it and go, Sam says he really likes squares bars. Let's take out that sweet potato and add in a squares bar post-workout. Done. I can set someone up in 10 minutes and it can be 100% personalized because I've got all these templates set up. That's the beauty of a signature system. And that's why it's so valuable. So to give you an example of a case study, I'm going to show you Mika. So Mika, this was his 20-week result that he got with me. So probably like the poster boy for my online coaching. I was going to quickly break down some of this stuff. So when he came in, biggest problem that Mika had was he's Serbian. His English wasn't particularly great, which was a bit of a barrier. He also had some really bad PTs in Serbia that just thought, like, I've got to remove all these foods and carbs are bad. And he didn't know what to do. He was also given a little bit of extracurriculars by these trainers, and he didn't want to use them anymore because they were impacting his health and he had a few testosterone issues, right? So in the sense here, we set this goal that he wanted to go from 96, right? And his goal weight was 74, right? We now realized it was going to take 25 weeks. We actually got there a little bit early, right? But that was going to be his timeline. And we set that out in his timeline here. So that phase one, this is essentially my reset phase. I was going to use the first 4 weeks as a baseline. Get him used to getting into good habits. We understand that the first 2-3 weeks, we're going to lose more glycogen and water retention. So I kind of wanted to see give him a couple of weeks after that initial drop to see what happened to his weight. So we went a straight split with calories. He had a big appetite, so I put protein a little bit higher, and he trained incredibly hard. So I put protein a little bit higher to help recovery and help with satiation. And because he was having a few hormonal issues, I wanted to improve his VO2 max and his baseline. If we see on the side here, his resting heart rate, 61. So he wasn't in a bad place, but I wanted to kind of get this even better and improve his health markers so I can try and drive up food later down the line. So in here, 10,000 steps a day, we did 300 calories of cardio 4 times a week. The reason why I do, unless it freaks people out and makes them want to eat more, I like using calories as a target rather than time as a target for cardio. The reason for this is that as we go into a diet, NEAT will drop. So let's say I'm told, Lewis, to do 30 minutes of cardio. Week 1, you're going to be like, and week 6, you're going to be like this. You've still done 30 minutes of cardio. The expenditure is now entirely different. If I do 300 calories, it might take you 10 minutes on week 1 and 25 minutes on week 6, but you've still done the amount of output. The reason why I like doing it 4 days a week, building an aerobic base, the more you can do, the better you're going to get. I like front loading a lot of cardio, get their health in as good a place it physically can, and then I can always increase food if our rate of loss, becomes too quick. Right? Energy flux. If anyone's heard the term energy flux, if I had an identical twin, I was consuming 2,000 calories and burning 2,000 calories. They were consuming 4,000 calories and burning 4,000 calories. We would assume both at maintenance that would be the same. Nope. The person on 4,000 calories would potentially burn more fat because of the metabolic byproducts of keeping food higher, potentially helping blood glucose control, helping digestion, helping thyroid output, right? The fact that our NEAT's going to be higher because we're moving more. These things will actually change. So if I can increase food alongside activity, we're going to be in a better place at the end of this. Also, if he's training 3 days a week, which in this case, actually, was he training 3 days a week or did I get him training 4? I actually am training 4 days a week, but I quite like having someone do something every day. So if you're training 3 times a week and doing 4 sets of cardio, the days where you get up and either train or go for a big long walk or do cardio, you're less likely to fall into a bag of Doritos when you get home. If you're sitting watching Netflix on the sofa, you're more likely to grab comfort food. Whereas if you get up and do some cardio, you don't want to ruin it. So if clients are willing to do that and they have the time, I think it's a great psychological trick for that. But not always for everybody. Sometimes if it's too much, start slow and work up. So we had that baseline, and I set this next phase of trying to find out where his caloric ceiling is. I wanted to go low to high with him, right? As we started working on some health stuff, as we started seeing improvements in his libido and training and performance and energy, we were going to increase. So what we noticed after this first 4 weeks, he'd gone from 96 to 88. So an 8 kilo drop in 4 weeks. He is well above target, which means we know he's probably tracking well, right? We know he's moving. We know he's training hard enough. And it probably means that we're in a bigger deficit than we initially thought. Fantastic. We also see his heart rate go from 61 to 54. So we know he's actually his nervous system's in a good place where he's more likely to be able to handle more food. So what do? We increase 50 grams of carbs on training days post-workout. So now we have a slight carb cycle. His training days now have a little bit extra food than his rest days. That extra bit of food will help his recovery from training, right? Allow him a little bit of flexibility with his diet, right? Then we moved into our training-wise, we did a backloaded structural balance program. Backloaded structural balance is popularized by Luke Lehman, right? We worked on some functional issues. Why is this following me around? Stop that camera. I didn't even do the symbol. So where we basically put the big lifts at the end of the workout and work on some remedial stuff at the start that he wasn't prioritizing, right? And then in phase 2, we brought the big lift from the C series to the B series and then changed the second lot of exercises into more physique focused work, kept one lot of remedial work in. Then in phase 3, I brought the B series back to the A series. Now his big lifts are in the A's. We ramped up the load, and now we really heavily worked on more physique-focused accessory work. So he went to do more half-body split. So we made that change there. As we increased food, the next week after we increased food, we tried to increase activity a little bit, put this food to use. So I increased steps a little bit, and we added 2 HIIT sessions after 2 of his sessions. So after his upper body, he did 2 Tabatas. So 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 7 times. He was still dropping quite nicely here. So now I added another 50 grams of carbs in his training days on his evening meal to allow him to encourage a restful sleep, allow him to have a bit more of a social life with friends. He works as an agent for modeling companies. So he had a few business dinners. It's made us easier to handle, right? Then our next one, I increased his Tabata rounds to 8. I probably wouldn't have been this aggressive with cardio in hindsight, but it definitely allowed us to be more aggressive with food in this period of time. We start to see here that we're struggling a little bit with digestion. In hindsight, it's probably because I ramped up the stress a little bit too much, but I played around with the digestive enzyme and that seemed to work. And we wrote that in here so we knew. Now, 8 weeks in, another 7 kilos down. So in 4 weeks, gone from 88 down to 81, and we're still seeing improvements in his health metrics, right? So massive improvements here. 88 to 81 on the waist, 88 to 83 in terms of load. So 4 kilos in 4 weeks. It's still a little bit ahead of target. But he wanted to push on. I could have carried on increasing food because everything's suggesting that's going to work. But he was getting into it. He kind of wanted to push a little bit harder. We started playing around with it. So here, I kept his training days the same. I didn't change anything from the build, but I started now pulling back fats on rest days. To start to give him a bigger deficit on his rest days and a smaller deficit on training days to hold on to as much muscle mass as possible. Right? And we now ramped up training volume a little bit because we know now from the remedial work we've done here, we've got him in a good place health-wise. At 50 beats a minute, he's in a really good place from a nervous system perspective. Now let's start pushing the training lever. And remember on the seminar, we said about that, we have that little bit of an alarm phase. And then if we get a chance, we super compensate. Now I want to push to see when we can push that alarm phase. How much training volume can he handle now his food's in a good place before we need to pull back? So if you move from here, your himbine, HCl, and caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, which is a thermogenic. And your himbine, HCl, is a beta oxidizer. So we create blood flow to target areas. This was already written in the timeline before we got here. I am never, ever, ever going to do a check-in and go, I remembered your himbine. You're never going to remember that. This is the reason why I had a template. Your himbine was written in there. I could have deleted it and not used it, but I'm glad I did. Now, your himbine is an interesting one. Every client I've used a himbine with, and when I've used a himbine myself, I have gotten infinitely leaner in my troublesome areas. But was it the himbine, or was it the fact that I dieted for longer and harder? Who the fuck knows? James, you've used your himbine, right? And I bet you felt the same thing. You can't say for certain.
Yeah, I notice it with clients as well. The ones that use it always end up leaner. And is it, like you say, is it placebo or is it just whatever?
Yeah, exactly. So like here, next one, I didn't want to make any more drops in food straight away. I wanted to leave it. I like alternating between training, cardio, and nutrition drops. And you can see this, how we've got a food, a cardio, then a training. Food, a cardio, then a training. So it doesn't feel like I'm just pulling food every single time. Like, fucking hell, man, like leave me alone. I'm already hungry. So I increased a bit of his cardio to ramp up that deficit, right? And we increased those steps. Then we went from there. I made the next one with another drop in food. So we dropped a little bit on his rest days and training days, right? And that we saw here, we went from 83 to 79, weights from 81 to 78. So now we're starting to slow down a little bit, but he's still pretty much within target range. And he's still good from a health perspective. So we know we can push harder. So a couple of things we did here, right? Next thing, we've now added in a hypertrophy block. So we started from this base, we started to ramp volume. He had an issue with he had deep vein thrombosis that came from family-orientated thing. His health's obviously in a good space, but his doctor told him to be wary of leg training. I think his doctor was probably a bit trigger-happy with scaring him. But we went for push, pull, and then shoulders and arms. I mean, we kind of brought lower body to like one big lift a day for that period of time. But we ramped up training volume because he was in a stress-wise, he could handle it, right? So now, what we noticed here as he was starting to get, I think it was, where is it? Is this one? Heart rate starts to creep up. So he's still losing weight, a little bit slower. His waist has dropped, still up. So he's still making progress, but start to slow down. And see how we've noticed in the last, like, I'm checking this every week, but I've noticed in these 2-3 weeks that his resting heart is starting to consistently creep up. This is a sign that we're now starting to see him overreaching. So I could here change the stimulus. I could here deload, right? Or I could work on his recovery. We're dieting. We're not going to improve recovery much unless his sleep was all over the place, right? We haven't got that much to his photo shoot. I'm not going to change stimulus. So what did I did? I dropped his hit and I pulled the volume down in his A's and B's. So I went down to like 2 working sets. Then I added sets to arms and shoulders and smaller muscle groups that were easier to recover from. So I've now dropped training to let the diet and the cardio do the work. He comes in, smashes what he needs to, gets the fuck out of Dodge, right? I also here gave him a little bit of a diet break before our last push. 4 days at 2,600 calories, monitoring fullness, like muscle fullness, not I feel full, energy and performance. So there are 3 different ways. I probably didn't need to do all of these in the space of a week. I probably in hindsight would have done one of these, but I was just like really trying to make sure. I don't recommend you guys doing all of them at once because I didn't know which one did the most work. I'd rather space them out. But I could drop HIIT, I dropped training volume, and I gave him a diet break, all in ways to try and make his health markers go back in the right direction and give us some room. And you can see the difference here, 54. When he got to shoot week, he was down to 51. So from here, made one more reduction. I quite like sometimes when I do a reduction in calories, especially as we get into grind central, I like doing a high day and then go into the next drop. Because if you're already feeling tired and fatigued at the end of a diet, and again, I'll use James as an example because I know how lean he gets. If you were like already hungry, already grinding, already dragging your feet, and your coach goes, drop another 250 calories every day, you might be into it, but you're like, oh my fucking God. Whereas I went, James, Saturday, I'm going to give you a refeed. So we went up to 3,300 calories. After that, we're going to make a drop. You were excited about the refeed, takes a little bit away the worry of the drop that comes afterwards. We give you something nice to then pull back. Then here, as we got closer, we added a high day 3 weeks out. This is so we can start trialing those high days. How do you look after that high day? Oh, you drop weight. Okay, we'll go more aggressive next time, which is what happened. Gave him a high day of 250 grams of carbs, drop weight, looked a little bit stringy. Next high day, 350 grams of carbs. Looked better. So we now knew before the peak week that he was going to be in a good place. Right? So then, peak week. First thing we did, take any supplements that will cause you to hold water. Your hembean, probiotics, digestive enzymes. Glutamine is another one. Right? Then, as regards to his peak week, let me just quickly bring this up because I've got it here. So this is the peak week document I sent out. So this is also a template email, by the way, FYI, and then I modify it. And I put a video at the top. So his shoot day was Sunday. Then basically we got him to, I basically did I would have done an 8x8 here. I think that's the best depletion workout, but I just increased reps, brought down intensity to deplete a little bit, and I brought carbohydrates down at the start of the week. Right? What you'll notice here with cardio is that we taper down cardio per day, 35 minutes, 30 minutes, 25 minutes. And then for the last 2 days, none. I don't want any water going to the legs. I want to reduce stress as much as possible. People talk about what should we do with carbs and sodium and water. No one talks about what you should do with stress. If you want to look good, stress less. Put your feet up, watch Netflix, have a bath, have a wank, anything that chills you out. Have that before going to shoot. Come in relaxed, you're going to feel better. Now, we can be a bit nerdy with that and play around with it, but if in doubt, the less stress in the body, the less water retention going to the extremities, the drier and fuller we're going to look. Water, I've gone from 4 liters up to 5, up to 6, up to 7, and then I've pulled back on the last day to 2 to 3. I never cut it out. It's very hard as a natural to fill out without water, and certainly without sodium. I don't fuck about with sodium. It's just not worth it. But with water, I increase it so you get used to pissing it out. Then we go back to his normal. He continues pissing it out. And then I just kind of taper it off about 8:30 the night before. Right? The 1 glass of red wine, I don't think it makes that much difference. But the amount of clients I've heard, red wine's good for peak week. It gives them a little bit of a, ooh, this is an exciting thing. And like, as long as you don't have a bottle and you look great from the neck down and look fucking pissed from the head up, I don't care. Right? So with training, I've kind of gone a high reps start the week to deplete. Then I've cut leg training out halfway through the week. And then from Friday and Saturday, no training. Friday, nothing to failure. Light pump, CA look in the gym. That is it. Carbohydrates, started them low. And I've done what I call a semi-front load. So here, his shoot was Sunday. I gave him 350 grams of carbs to what we had practiced on that first day. So let's say I was doing it 3 days out. I only did a 2-day front load, but sometimes I do a 3. So let's say I had a 3-day, 350 on day 1, 250 on day 2, 150 on day 3. That's what I would plan and send to the client. Then I'll get them say, send me a picture on the Friday evening and the Saturday morning. Based off their weight, based off their look, I might, if they drop weight the next day and they look a bit flat, I'll go do another day of 350 or do a day of 400 instead of what we had planned. If they look like they've overspilt, I can pull back and do a low carb day to tie it in. If you know your clients, you've done a lot of trials, just giving them one big carb day the day before, it's probably best, but it's riskier. So if you don't know, a front load, we've got a little bit of wiggle room to go up or down, can be really, 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 really useful. Get a spray tan. I never understand why clients refuse spray tans. Like you never get a girl going out on a night out without a ton of makeup because they want to look the best. Yet guys think a tan, if you get a spray tan, you're going to be tan for the rest of your life. It's for a day. It's madness, right?
I love it, me. It's class.
Say again?
I love it, me. It's the best part about it.
Mate, if you've never been to see James Harknett in London, it's the best. It's like half tan, half interpretive dance. He's the campus man. He's spray painted. He's tan Madonna, Will Smith, Men's Health cover models, David Gandy. Come on, camera, stop following me around. So if you kind of want to do the back of the arm, you go, could you do this? He'll go, could you do this? It's a full-on, full-body swish. I went there once. He was like, have you done magazine modeling? I went, no. I went, you should. You'd be really good at it. I'm like, oh my God, I want to get a tan every day because my ego's burst. He's wonderful. And he's very good. And then the only bit of advice I would do here with regards to shoot day, sip on some water when needed, but as little as possible. I would have a meal that includes some fats and carbs 60 to 90 minutes prior. Don't eat anything you can't digest or not included during the prep. If you've not eaten bread, don't eat bread. If you've not had dairy, don't have dairy. Last thing you want to do is bloat out. If anyone remembers a guy called Luke Haslett, or Luke Hazlett is actually his name. He did, you remember him? I went to university with Luke. He, when he did that bodybuilding show and he blamed was it mayonnaise or yogurt as the reason why he pulled out? And everyone was like, oh, so sorry. That's so bad that happened to you. Like, what an unfortunate circumstance. Two things, Luke. First one, that was your own fucking fault. You hadn't had it during prep. Second thing, people that don't know you don't realize you've done this before. It was mustard the first time. And because I went to university with him, I know all the tricks of the fucking tray that he pulled out and he failed on it twice. But I've seen it. Also, a bit of advice. If someone's new to doing refeeds and they are a bit more of an anxious personality, pre-approve high day meal plans before they do it. Don't let them wing it. The reason why, I had a client that in the first 4 weeks, he looked fucking amazing. He's a popular coach in the industry that I'm not going to name on a recording. But if any of you want the name of this person, just DM me afterwards and I'll tell you who it is. He was first 4 weeks, unbelievable. I was like, my God, this guy's going to be unreal. And he started going backwards. And we're like, what's going on? And we realized he was like, his food volume was a bit rubbish. He was getting hungry, getting back on track, started going backwards again. I'm like, what is going on? Dropped me an email at 2:00 in the morning going, Simon, I've got a confession to make. I'm doing 10,000 calorie binge weekends, like bad relation with food. And now with the Simon I am now, I would have pulled the diet there. I'm like, no, dude, like we need to sort this out. This is not the right place. But I said, we've got two options. I almost said his name then. We've got two options, unnamed PT. We can either pull back and do a later shoot and work on some issues, or we can continue going, but we're going to need to do a protein sparing modified fast with intermittent refeeds to make this up. He goes, no, we want to do it. Let's do the PS. I'll be good, I promise. He got so nervous with his carb up about overeating that he decided to do 350 grams of carbs from stir-fry vegetables. Didn't shit for 3 weeks. Looked bloated as fuck, ruined the shoot. Then he finished shooting a whole chocolate cake on the tube. This guy's got some issues, man. So pre-approve it, make sure. Go easier on the fiber. People use a lot of veg, pull it back for peak weeks, right? Add carbs that are easy digestible. I would also then say get a full sugar drink that they can sip on the way to the gym and during their pump up. My personal favorite is Iron Brew, not sugar-free like this one. Iron Brew's not only got a bunch of carbs in it, but it's got a fuck ton of sodium and potassium. Another thing, if you want to ask, because it'll be too long to find it now. I once did a photo shoot. Wasn't even a photo shoot. I did a diet for a holiday. Because it wasn't a photo shoot, I didn't do a proper peak week. I was going to get photos on the day of my birthday, which was when I finished the diet. I was going to go out for some drinks at a Brewdog event, have some food, probably come in a bit jacked, and have pictures the next day. I went to this Brewdog event. I was sat with an early investor who has made millions from just being friends with the Brewdog owners. He was so excited by the brand, he kept buying me beers. I was hammered. I was so hungover. I looked stringy and I looked worse. My friend bought me a 2-litre bottle of Iron Brew. I downed the whole thing and immediately looked like I gained 10 kilos of lean tissue. I've never seen difference in it. It's unbelievable. So something like a sugary drink's good. Last thing, when it comes to photo shoot prep, pump-ups. There's 2 ways to do pump-ups. There's the easy man's pump-up and there's like the nerdy pump-up. The easy man's pump-up, if you're in a busy gym, this is probably the way for it. Bit of rows, a few like fucking press-ups, and then pump up extremities, arms and shoulders. Not too much on the abs, you don't want water drawn to the stomach. Not too much on the legs, you don't want water drawn to the legs, losing that definition. But mostly on the extremities. Practice bracing early. Like we said before, don't leave it till the last minute. If you want to do a nerdy pump up, look at your client's photos and start to analyze what is the weakest and strongest body parts and pump up in the order from strongest to weakest. So if you ever look at a picture of me, my back's dominant, then my chest. Well, no, it's probably back, biceps, chest, delts, triceps. My triceps make my back look smaller. My big back does not make my triceps look bigger. It's a bit better now, a bit more even now, but back then. So when I go into the first picture, my triceps are on max pump. My back has lost a little bit of pump, now creating overall balance. Hopefully that was useful, guys. That is a bit of a putting all the stuff we've spoken about into practice. Sam, anything to add? Here, I know that you're voiceless and a bit ill, so I don't want to like strain you too much. But is there anything you want to add here for the guys?
Not necessarily, but that was really useful. Just to see your thought process, literally in a case study example, from start to finish. That was good. Spot on.
James, any key takeaway? Go on, sorry, Sam.
If anyone has any questions on the stuff that I covered, obviously just drop me a message or an email, and I'm more than happy to help you out anytime.
Awesome. James, any key takeaways from today? Any follow-up questions?
I've got a similar thought process to you, which is a bit of an ego boost.
Yes, I love that though. And that's the thing, right? I think some of the biggest takeaway from that Mika case study: don't get greedy, right? A lot of people would have seen him lose 8 kilos in the first 4 weeks and gone, let's ride the wave and keep the calories the same. Like, there's only so much fat you can lose at any one time. So if we've maxed out fat loss capabilities, where is that loss coming from? And once inflammation and water retention is not a thing, it's lean tissue. So if you want to look good, that's why the low to high diet is good, not low to low. Otherwise, people look emaciated. Don't get greedy. If someone's ahead of target, feed them. Feed them until they hit the right target. They'll look better at the end of it. And also on your point, James, there, sometimes the biggest breakthroughs I've had with students are them getting out their own way. Don't worry, I've taught them loads of that gut and training and hypertrophy, and it's cool and it's great. But I get people that come to me going, got this idea. What do you think of this program? And the best thing I've ever said to them is like, yeah, that's really good. Do that. And it just stops them, because they probably go, I've got an idea, but it's probably shit. Like, what makes you think it's shit? I had a coach that was yesterday, scared to put a program on the Facebook group. She was worried about being wrong. I went, doesn't need to be fancy. Like, you don't need to know the moment arm of the long head of the bicep. Like, your reasoning behind an exercise for biceps could be biceps does elbow things, curls does elbow things. Does elbow things is a fine rationale for me. If it has a why, it's good. It's gonna be better than what your clients are already doing. So sometimes just getting out the way and realizing, I actually am good at this. I don't need the approval. I don't need this. That's as powerful as fucking lecture on gut health.
I think one of the other things that I've done over the last couple of years that's made a big difference to that is using Google Sheets, similar to yours there, where you can actually, it creates a much better way of creating a case study so you know what worked and what didn't. Whereas before, using sheets, I just was kind of, to some degree, winging it. I'd made changes and there would be somewhere in my notes each week, but actually being able to track them out in a timeline and zoom back to see what works.
And imagine if you did what I did there. You did a recorded a Loom video of every client that got an amazing result with you, and you walk through their timeline. So when someone's in your DMs going, how does the coaching work? Oh, I'm not sure if that's a bad coach before. And you go, okay, rather than just showing you how the coaching works, let me show you someone like you that was in a similar position, how we got a result with them. How easy would it be to sell that person on your coaching? Because you go into if any of you have boards, boards is an app you can use for Instagram where you can have saved messages. You can say messages, you have 20 case studies, you're going, that middle-aged female. That one. And then you send that case study, and we're like, you're going to get so much buy-in from people pre and post sale. Imagine you dropped a new case study out to people that were struggling. Someone's struggling with hunger. Oh, so did Anders. Here's his case study. You know, we've just added 8 case studies into the level 1 course in SMU, which, by the way, is 20% off for Black Friday if you're keen. For that exact reason, so people can see them and like use them as examples and show what's possible. Awesome. Lewis, any key takeaways? Any questions?
No, mate, honestly, I think that is really good. And something is just both talk about is like having the highlights from what you've mentioned last week and stuff. I do obviously write a lot of stuff down, but then you sometimes come back and you forget maybe what been worked on last week or whatever it might be. It's just having all the systems in place. And I do it all the time. I'll come back and I'll be like, remind me of this and remind me what we did last week. And then, I think just write everything down for myself because I'm pretty sometimes a bit distorted. My brain's a bit ADHD. I bit go all over the shop. Like
here's the most ADHD thing ever, right? Not only was I going to bring up my medication on camera to show you how much ADHD I am, I've actually lost my medication. That is the most ADHD sentence in the world, isn't it? So people say you have to work on your weaknesses.
Yeah.
I think to a degree, you have to be passable at your weaknesses. Once you're passable at your weaknesses, stop working on them. Systemize the fuck out your weaknesses so you can spend more time doing what you do well. There is like, for example, right? If I was Sam, I'd systemize so much about the nutrition stuff. Don't get me wrong, good quality. He needs to understand nutrition because that's a big part of getting results. But if I can systemize a lot of that delivery, so Sam can spend more time being like fucking amazing on the gym floor. Why should he spend more time doing that? More time studying that? That's what he's really good at. So like, I want him to spend time being the guy that if I come and do a session with Sam, I'm going to walk away going, oh my God, that was next level. If he's too busy trying to study fucking admin, organization, psychology, and nutrition, like, don't get me wrong, a bit of that, but like stick 80% of your effort and time into the thing that stands you out from everybody else. I'm not going to start doing copywriting courses. Why? Because I'm dyslexic ADHD. Good fucking luck. But I'm going to learn how to be a better presenter and I'm going to put videos out there and things like that because that's more my wheelhouse. Same thing with check-ins. If you're a great writer, don't do Loom because everyone else does Loom. Write a great check-in. If you're like me and dyslexic as fuck, go use Loom. Great. If you're on the gym floor, just use the sessions. You know? Awesome, guys. I will leave you to your Friday. Hopefully this has been really, really useful. I will get the recording. I'll send it over to Sam and he can fire it off to you guys. But if you need me, I'm an Instagram away. And guys, absolute pleasure.
It's been brilliant.
Thanks very much, man.